Welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here and Jack Kinnett. All the lights are currently lit here on track, and it is go, go, go! Donoso with a crafty manoeuvre up the inside. Masterclass from the Chilean.
Crucial championship points on offer here.
Do not count out Danny Berezne.
Longe has done the job. This is for the win between these two.
Freddie Rasmussen wins the United States Grand Prix.
Alfie Butcher wins for the first time ever. Lucas Blakely takes the championship. It's Barry Foreman.
Jarno Opmeer is your champion.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to E-Series, and of course, Season 4, Round 4, this time we'll be heading around the beautiful circuit of Montreal, and as far as Montreal goes for creating great races, we know we've seen it timeless amounts of time. English is difficult, I promise you, but of course, Nathan Richards isn't here with us tonight, similar as I wasn't here last week as well. But we do have a beautiful replacement. Of course, Omi himself has decided to come along. The reason why Nathan isn't here as well, don't worry, he's not run away, he's not had a fallout, he's just suffering from a bit of COVID. We wish him the speediest recovery possible, and hopefully he'll be feeling better in time to join back for next week. But Omi, Montreal, how are we feeling about it?
Hello.
There we go.
Well, I'm feeling good about Montreal. The weather can be pretty interesting as well. So yes, cannot wait to see how this one is going to play out.
Honestly, I'm really looking forward to it, especially considering the Monaco race from last week as well. Now, yes, I wasn't here, but of course, we've got all the VODs on the Twitch channel, on the YouTube channel. It's all good. So, what we're looking at is Duncan. Declan or Duncan? It's one of them. I'll tell you what, it's going to be easier to show you guys. Duncan, not Declan. I don't know why I thought it was Declan for a moment. I always get those confused. Anyway, Duncan sitting P1 with a fantastic race and grabbing himself a win. Max in P2 and Declan coming back with a P3 with a fantastic drive through the field. And then Ben Marples for TES in P4. As far as we go, you can look down that list and you can see more and more drivers you wouldn't necessarily expect to be down there. Of course, Monaco Merchant from last season. Dylan Warren. I don't know why. I've just got Declan on my mind. I mean, to be fair, it was a fantastic drive from him. So, but no, honestly, you got to consider that Monaco, it's not a traditional circuit. We will see a couple different drivers appear in this race. We're going to see how much they're going to be able to perform. But yes, it is technically still a very compact street circuit. It can be a little bit twisty. It should be very, very solid to see, though, about how these drivers somewhat handle Montreal.
Yes, always very different, of course, to other circuits. Lots of overtaking opportunities, but we also do have one detection point for two DRS zones. So the racing can be pretty exciting and interesting around this circuit, and lots of tactics definitely, especially when we get into the final stages as well. So it's been very competitive from what I'm seeing, from what I've seen so far, and hopefully that is going to be able to continue here at Canada as well. But first of all, we've got 3 qualifying sessions to get to Q1, Q2, and Q3 to set the grid, and I'm sure we're going to get shocks as usual.
Absolutely. We've seen it timeless amounts. Again, timeless amounts of time. That's going to be the new saying, I promise you guys. But overall, we're looking at the lineup. We could see the drivers, how in depth a couple of these teams might have gone. Whether they necessarily really want to try and just skim the tip of the development drivers, or whether they wanted to put in a couple of the heavy hard hitters. I can already see a couple mentions for Liam Parnell. Come on, guys, be a bit fair to him. But no, overall, a very strong lineup here, yet again in E-Series. We've got, well, by far and away the strongest grid we've ever seen in E-Series with us this season. And again, some of the big hitters coming out tonight. Lenny Pinto, Reese Linton for Race Clutch, Jan Halliday, Jos Nordyke for Aston Martin, Sammy Chesney and Riley McKay over at Veloce Academy, Riccardo Benzoni and Tycho Hardy for RHG, Dylan Warren and Patrick Seapos, just to get us started with the first 5. Which names are popping out right there for you, Omi?
Well, first of all of them. A very competitive grid, but I'm going to give you a few names. I'm not just going to leave you with that. I think Patrick Sheepos is always going to be in there as well. Jan Halliday, fantastic performance yesterday in PCF2. If you haven't seen that, make sure you go watch that. As Josh mentioned, all the all the live streams still up there on YouTube, still up there on Twitch. So make sure you go check that one out. But
shameless plug. Shameless plug. That was a shameless plug from you. Yeah, after this live stream, go watch the F2. It's because Omi's there as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, watch it. I'm expecting all of you to add it to your watch later thing on YouTube. Come on. I can see what you guys do. Come on, behave. But no, realistically, you're looking there. Very fantastic first half of the driving line. So then we move over to the second half, and it just gets more exciting to me. Right, Simeon Lekomsky, Piotr Stachulek, we've seen them again have great results. Then, of course, Valentino Labella, Angelo Duracento, again, Angelo, another one of those drivers where you wouldn't necessarily expect, that top tier esport level pace, but he's been showing it on a consistent basis, which makes me think perhaps could be in for something very special here tonight. And then, of course, Declan Barrett, a fantastic drive from last week, Liam Parnell as well, deciding this time to not just focus on the setups, he wanted to get involved. It's beautiful to see. Nelson Alves, Marcel Biega, again, another strong lineup from TES. But we know, TES, we saw it last season, we saw it this season. It is a little bit wishy-washy, isn't it? Sometimes they'll be, the team to beat, they'll be absolutely phenomenal, and other times they seem to just have a little bit of a stutter and a little bit of a fallback. But again, it's one of those we're just going to have to keep an eye on, see how we're going to tend. We can quite easily pick up in Q1, Q2, whether they're here and to absolutely smash it over the qualifying like we've seen them do previously, or whether it might be a little bit of a slower one for them to kind of get themselves around to. And then, of course, Will Lewis, Servan McQualiban, and Iker Boehner as well, rounding out the grid. And that Williams lineup, again, feels like I say this almost every single week. It's a bit of a joke.
Absolutely. Very hard with their lineup as well. And it's great to see what the teams manage to come up with every single week as well. And they're, of course, hoping to get some of their best drivers in to make sure that they get some of the best performances in as well, week in, week out, because it can get very close. Right now, we've got a tie between second and third Ferrari and Aston Martin, or both on 105, trying as well. So all very interesting at the top of the table. 3 rounds. Now it's round 4, and it continues to get close and also continues to heat up. So exciting to see how the standings will change after this round here at Monaco. We've got
Omi, your microphone is having a hell of a time trying to connect to anything at the moment, my friend.
Find that out.
Your microphone is not happy in the slightest. I'm not too sure what's happening there, but yes, very close in the standings. But I'll tell you what might be even closer is the distances between a couple of these drivers in qualifying. And, well, speaking of which, I feel like it's only fair if we show you guys for qualifying because they have started their laps. And, of course, we've got Angelo here going out on a set of intermediates. Soft tyres, very crucial to keep around here. That's why we're going to see the drivers go out on the intermediates, just get a bit of prep in, just make sure they're comfortable, they're adjusted, they're a fan of, you know, their sitting position, make sure they're all snug in one of our beautiful little rigs, which could very well be a GT Omega rig. But again, that's a shameless plug we're going to leave for a little bit later, because personally, Angelo, I want to say he's going to do really well, but every time I've complimented a driver so far this season in E-Series, I've ended up in a wall.
Yes, well, not only this time, this season in E-Series, it seems like all the time, Josh. Every single race, every single broadcast you're on. So it's probably better to not mention from your side who's going to be doing well, because we already know when we're only in the first few minutes of qualifying that they're probably not going to be doing the best, as we watch Nelson Alves currently on a outlap. And he will be hoping to contend. He won't be able to contend right now, though, at this point of the session on those intermediate compound of tires. And right now, he's just going to be getting, of course, making sure everything is all set up. Don't want to waste the set of these softs this early right now in qualifying when we've got
There we go.
Q1, Q2, and Q3 all still to go. And it's always competitive in Q1. Always competitive in Q1 to try and get through. Even some of the big hitters could find themselves in trouble if they don't play their cards right, especially when we get to the second part of qualifying.
Absolutely, we've already seen it so far in E-Series. A couple of drivers where you would really think they would be able to take a handle into Q1 and build momentum. They just tend to push boundaries a little bit too much, whether that's an invalidation or something just to get them out their competitive stride can really affect their motivation, of course. I can see you guys in YouTube chat, Liam. I see there Nathan as well. He's recovered enough from COVID to open up his phone, which is lovely to see. And of course, he's got a very own special activation, which I believe you're a part of tomorrow, aren't you, Omi?
Yes, absolutely. We've got the 24-hour of mental health event. We're going to be running, of course, tomorrow and on Sunday. So make sure you tune in. PSGL supporting it, and our lovely sponsors also at SRC. If we do get to certain goals as well with the donations, then there will be some giveaways as well, so you can keep an eye on the Discord. So everyone coming together to support mental health. I know a lot of people do struggle with it, so they're a great charity to go to, and it's great to help them out as well. And Jan Halliday with that lap currently on the Inters, helping himself to the top only for a little bit, though Reese Linton taking that away as they all just complete their first run, and then we'll start to see some proper runs on those soft compound of tires the further we move into this session.
Absolutely. We are aware the yapometer is going off. We are yapping quite a bit, but we don't have to yap for too much longer because we do have Liam Parnell hopping out on a set of that soft compound tyre. Of course, representing the Oracle Red Bull Racing team. It's going to be interesting to somewhat see how they're doing because, of course, their first season here, they've already got the lead in the championship, but that deficit has come down quite a bit, hasn't it? Between P2, P3, Ferrari, Aston, they're looking to close up. They're looking to add a couple extra points to their tally to maybe try and rock the boat a little bit, of course. There is quite a bit to gain. Of course, it's not only just prize money, which you might not necessarily think is going to be too much of a factor for a couple of these teams. But at the same time, it is the notoriety. It is being able to say, okay, the biggest team event on F124, we won the first one. We're going to come back for the next one. We're going to win that one again. Look at how it bolstered Ferrari. Look at how they were able to perform in the F1 sim racing. And part of that, as much as, you know, maybe Big C wouldn't like me to say, part of their success in F1 sim racing has to come down to E-Series and the weight that the drivers have and the way they can practice. Think back to Kota a couple of rounds ago. The defensive driving Ferrari used, blocking off a road, going 2x2 through the critical parts where they felt a little bit vulnerable, managed to help them get themselves a 1-2. Can be absolutely fantastic to somewhat be able to nurture and somewhat... I can't really think of a word, but express how that can work before going on to, you know, the grandest stage of them all and trying to take it on that way as well. But Timo in chat as well saying Q2, Q3 is looking like rain. Now,
Interesting stuff.
I'm not sure how much rain, because a couple of these drivers have been very gentle, let's say, with going out of the pits. So perhaps maybe saving a couple sets of soft for a little bit later in the session to make sure we get as many runs in as Q2 and Q3 can allow. But at the end of the day, we never really know until we're there, and that's part of the beauty of sim racing. You can't just stick your finger out the window. You've got to read the data, and sometimes the data's not always true. But Liam Parnell coming round the Wall of Champions, just picking up an invalidation there, but let's see where his lap time would have got. So we've got somewhat of a benchmark to run the rest of the lap times off at 1:08.6. How are we thinking the rest of this grid's going to be able to do, Omi?
Well, we're about to find out, because a few drivers are currently on the out laps, about to begin their lap. And the man in your picture is one of them, Tycho Hardy, going into turn number 1 now. And we did say that we'd focus on some of the laps. The yapping from Josh is coming to a close. I'm sure that will continue all the way throughout the session. I'm sure you've joined us throughout the rest of the season in E-Series and know that, and I've been able to work that out so far. 89 through the first sector for Tycho Hardy, as he currently looks to push on, will be one of the first drivers to get a lap time on those soft compound of tyres. And we've of course got a benchmark, a 1 minute 8.6. So let's see where he is going to be able to get in comparison to that one. But the critical thing, Josh, is keeping it inside the white lines through the final chicane, the Wall of Champions. It can get very tight, especially when you've got to the end of the lap and you're trying to gain every single possible.
It's one of those corners, isn't it? You can absolutely send it over the curbs, full send. Very little in the way of, well, runoff area, to be quite honest. Hence why the wall has got such notoriety. Many champions have crashed in it. Many drivers have crashed in it, as we do see Tycho Hardy giving it a little love tap on his way through, up towards the line, keeping it over to the right-hand side to narrow his run as much as possible. It's 1:08.2 for both of the R8G boys, looking very strong here, looking to try and get some points on the board. For me, perhaps one of the teams we're going to have to keep an eye out for over the remainder of the season, but not necessarily have the best start. Previous seasons, we've seen teams have poorer starts. We saw Ferrari last season. They had an absolute horrendous start, but later came back through in the dying embers of that season to come back and clinch the championship. And again, it's one of those things where it is very much momentum-based, and it's very much about not showing your hand in ways of showing what the drivers are really capable of, in a sense. It's a very odd and very peculiar thing we get to see, because a couple of these drivers will be out there going full beans, trying to get as many points as they can, while a couple of the other drivers might be sitting back a little bit, not necessarily looking to try and put in the thousands and hundreds of hours of practice you would expect a couple of these drivers to do. Rather just taking this as a bit more of a luxury race and having a bit of fun with it, trying new things, new strategies, new techniques, for how they can try and get their cars, especially in qualifying with tyre warming. It's such a pivotal point in this year's game, isn't it, Omi? Where you've kind of got to just try your best around each different circuit, with each setup, each tyre pressure potentially being a little bit different. It can throw a couple spanners in the works.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely does aid towards the different performances we can see from track to track from drivers as well, and getting on top of it is very critical with lots of practice. But it all depends how much do the drivers put in, how much do they sweat every circuit, and it always comes down to that. And we get to see it on the circuit, and we're getting to see some more laps coming in. Rain could be on its way in Q2 and Q3, not expected for this session though, so it should be dry all the way through, as we have 7 lap times currently on the board. We're just waiting for some more to come in, and we're about to get some more as well. Max bringing it to the final chicane, getting close to the Wall of Champions. Yus Norodike going to first position, and we're also going to see Max go into second now, as they get their first soft laps underway around this circuit.
Absolutely fantastic stuff. Already getting into the 107s. That's far quicker than anything I would be ever be able to do. Reese Linton's more my time, but even then, that's still quicker than what I'm able to do. But nevertheless, these drivers, you know, sometimes they'll take an extra lap to prep, and that's what I believe Reese has done here. Just make sure he can get his tyres properly in the working window, because getting him in that working window is crucial now more than ever in this year's game. It is such a pivotal point in the qualifying, the outlap. Although it might be a little bit dull to watch, you can see the drivers which have been able to perfect their outlap, more importantly, to be able to get the temps up, to be able to get the tyres into that working window where they can maximise the amount of grip, and you will see that with the lap times across the board. Race clutch, We saw it a couple rounds ago. We saw it around Monaco as well. Another team very good at getting their tyres at the optimal condition.
They absolutely are indeed, and we'll be hoping that they continue that throughout the qualifying sessions here. And Raiden could once again change it up if it is to come in the second and third part of qualifying, as Patrick Sheepos brings it to the end of his lap, but he has invalidated as well. So that will not be a lap that will go on the board. Would have been a 1 minute 8.4, which would have been able to get him right to the back right now, 14th, and he would have been able to get to 14th or 15th. So he still has more time definitely to find as Liam Parnell comes across the line. And now we're watching Declan Barrett also with an invalidation. So a few drivers taking a bit of extra time, but it can get risky when we have 6 minutes to go on the clock. And if we do see invalidations, for example, through the final chicane of this lap, it does mean that the pressure is on and we could see some shock eliminations.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things as well where you build yourself up to make sure you can hit that one final lap. It's going to be so crucial for a couple of these drivers to really be able to maximise their potential on that final lap. I'm looking at the likes of Angelo, Marcel, Liam, Sammy as well, all down there in that vulnerable position. Yes, we've got one driver of a quali ban, already retired from the session. We'll lose down there in P18, so that's one less place you've got to worry about. But then you've got to think, Valentino Labella, Patrick, Simeon Lekomsky, Declan Barra, all of them are very talented drivers who you would be able to make an argument for to quite comfortably get out of Q1. So it's going to really come down to how well they're going to be able to keep their nerve, how well are they going to be able to direct themselves into a position where they're going to be able to take it to the maximum and kind of guarantee themselves that little bit of luxury, that little bit of self-belief. Okay, I've done that lap. I'm ready. Let's keep going. As we see Julian there putting in a phenomenal lap time, a 1:07.9, moving the RHG driver up into P4. Max Crosspoint's already retired from the session. More than happy with his lap. Doesn't feel like he can add anything else to it. So why not retire? That's what I say.
Yes, absolutely. He's already done a good effort, and he's waiting for the rest of the drivers to finish their lap time. So may as well and watch with the rest of us for the final 4 minutes and 30 seconds before he's back to work in Q2. Valentino Labella currently on an outlap, currently with no time, hoping to change that by the time that he will make his way over the line next time. He's going to begin his lap, and then he'll bring it to a close, and hoping that he can get himself into a good position and make sure he's not at risk as well. So we're qualifying ban, so we are not, we've of course not seen him in this team back of the grid, so he'll be trying to make his way through for sure, as Labella is about to begin the lap.
Yes, and Julian's retired from the session in the pit lane as well. He's comfortable with his lap sitting in P4. Jos Nordijk as well. I expect to see Dylan Moore and Lenny Papinta, maybe Reese Linton as well, all retiring from the session, feeling very comfortable with what they've been able to put up on the board. But let's see what Valentino Labella, the tandem race driver, is going to be able to put up on the board here. Heading through Sector 1, already getting 18.9. Very solid indeed. Looking to try and get that car rotated as comfortably as possible. You'll see the smoke piling from the tyres. Don't worry. Lockups work a little bit different from real life if you're not already aware, but if you're watching PSGL E-Series, I'm expecting you guys to at least have the game. I've tried it yourself. It's the best way to rotate the cars, especially coming into a braking zone. It's absolutely fantastic to see these drivers taking full effect of whatever they've been handed by the game. Valentino Labella here looking to try and get the straightest exit possible before heading up towards that DRS activation point. You'll see the rear wing pop open in just a second. There we go. Lovely stuff. Valentino Labella running all the way down this back straight. A phenomenal overtaking opportunity. No cars, no slipstream, given the fact everyone's going to be ghosted in this qualifying session. But that'll return for the race. So I expect to see some DRS trains and some brilliant overtaking moves there later on in this I was about to say episode. I don't know what's up with me today, Obi. I'll be quite honest. But Valentino hopping up there into P8 should theoretically be safe. But considering a couple of these drivers behind look just a little bit hungry, to say the very least, to get through into Q2 and try and get themselves up into Q3. That's what we'd like. We'd love to see drivers push themselves to the absolute limits. And one of them, Marcel Biega. Let's see what the TES driver's got in store for us here. Heading down. Turn 1, turn 2. Let's see what he's going to be able to cook up for us.
Well, I was getting excited. Maybe you were leaking something, possibly episode 4 of the series. Are we getting some sort of documentary or something? Maybe coming out on PSGL. Josh accidentally leaking some stuff, maybe? We'll wait and see for that one. But we don't have to wait to see Marcel Viegas lap out on the circuit as he is currently making his way down to the 8th turn, hoping to keep it inside the white lines and rotate the car through in the fastest way possible. And he's heading down to the hairpin, which can also be a great overtaking opportunity when it comes to the race. If you are stuck in a DRS train, if you want to catch your rival out, outbrake your rival, that could definitely be an overtaking opportunity. And now we've done most of the lap, but he does not want to finish the lap, so he wasn't happy with his effort that time around. Isn't going to waste time, so he's going to put himself under a bit of pressure now, as we have 1 minute and 15 seconds to go on the clock. He will need to find a response, as Dylan Warren is improving. Whether he needs it or not, he is still finding some time and going into Q2. He'll be hoping with some confidence as well, as he's about to bring this lap to a close. And let's see what he's going to be able to do. Should be safe anyway, though.
Should be, theoretically, but you can't always count on theories at PSGL, can you? We know how many times we've seen a couple of drivers feel like they're safe, retire from a session a little bit too early, and end up getting caught out on their on the bump, let's say. As Patrick Seaposs puts in a more representative lap time of what he's capable of, up into P3. Very strong stuff there from the Ferrari driver. Then Parnell down there in P18. His teammate up in P14. It's not looking too strong of a track here for the Red Bull team. This is going to be the opportunity Ferrari and Aston might be looking for to try and capitalise and close that points advantage and maybe jump up a couple of extra positions here and there as well. Because Jan Halliday at the minute sitting in P8. Jos Noordijk in P5. Oh dear, Liam. Validation.
That is going to be heartbreaking for him. So he'll be out in 18th position with that invalid lap. Sami Chemzi will also be at the back as well. He is currently in the pit lane. So Marcel Biega will start P17 as we watch Reese Linton then with DRS open, as he's about to bring his lap to a close as well, Josh.
Absolutely. Up towards the line here, we can see Reese Linton a 107.8. It's just Reese Linton things. It's exactly what we'd expect. Tycho Hardy calling it a bit fine there. Going back into the pits, invalidation there for the RHG driver. Let's see what the rest of these drivers are going to be able to cook up. We've got a couple more heading up towards the line at the moment, but let's keep an eye on Nelson Alves with TES driver Marcel Biega not able to improve. Down in P17. Only 2 more spots. It's going to be whether Nelson is able to secure himself a little bit of safety now, because he's been put down into P16 with a couple of lap times from Angelo. Moving himself up. Nelson improves the lap time, but not by enough, and by the skin of his teeth. Icabina sitting in P14 for the Williams outfit. Again, another not favourable showing for the Williams team here. Of course, one of them being qualifying banned, but making it through into Q2. Hopefully he's going to be able to make a challenge slightly further up into Q3. But as far as Q1 goes, Lenny Pinter on top. It's going to be Race Clutch Ferrari in your top 4. Is it just me, or does it just feel like it's boiling up to something, Obi?
Boiling up to something, and I think we could be boiling up to some rain from reports, so we'll work that out. We'll see how Q2 goes, and possibly maybe we could have a bit of a quick start to Q2 if the rain is to come later on in the session. The first part of it is dry, so that could also lead to some pressure on the drivers. It's already very close in Q2, but it could become even more close. As just take a look at those margins, the top 4 separated by a tenth of a second. So phenomenal stuff. And I think we are definitely boiling up to a great conclusion, whether it be in the dry or the wet.
Absolutely. You can see there, 2 temps separating the top 10 as well. It is ridiculous how close this grid is. All of them are so talented. A couple of drivers who didn't manage to get their second lap and perhaps being a little bit vulnerable. You can see it slightly further down the order. But we do have to say goodbye to Tycho Hardy, Marcel Biega, Liam Parnell, Simon Chamsey, and Will Lewis, who of course have a qualifying ban. Eager to see what Will's going to be able to do. A first challenge. Feel like it could be on the cards. But of course, we will quickly remind you guys, while we are going over into Q2, about the standings and how it's all somewhat lining up. I saw Avatar asking for him. Let's check them up for you guys so we can somewhat visualise who's going to be racing against who. Don't be mistaken, though. Race Clutch sitting in P4. They've had very strong runs. Last week, not necessarily the greatest, but before that, they've been on absolute fire. Even so much, I was actually pitching to Andretti that they should probably sign him. You know, when Andretti eventually joins Formula One. That's going to be a hill I die on. I'm fully committed to that. I know. I understand it's probably never going to happen, but I'm happy to try and commit to it. But you can see a couple of those teams not necessarily getting the best run of form at the start. Williams, McLaren, tandem. But great part is, Montreal, we know stuff can change around here. Think back to Jenson Button, Sebastian Vettel. Come on. I mean, was you even born when that happened, Omi?
What do you want to guess?
I hope so. Otherwise, I'm going to feel very, very, very old.
09.
Okay. I'm not that old. You are. I don't feel like you would have been able to remember it, but someone who will be looking for a day to remember will be Simeon Lukomsky up into P6, McLaren outfit, both drivers through into Q2. These are the foundations they need to build on before they can advance through, build up that confidence, build up that courage to be able to get that good run in Q3. It's just going to come down to a matter of timing and whether they're able to perfect that opportune moment to be able to get that lap time in, because with all the drivers out on track like this, it somewhat does feel like rain is inevitable here in Q2.
Yes, when you get the rush straight away out onto the circuit, it definitely does tell you that rain could be coming, and also looking in the air as well, clouds definitely coming in. So this is going to be a critical part of qualifying to get that lap in before the rain could come down.
Absolutely, and let's have a look what Piotr Stachelek here is going to be able to do. You can see him ragging the car through turn 1, turn 2. For me, it's always watching these drivers at this caliber. Yes, don't get me wrong, a couple of the other drivers here in PSGL, the likes of the F2, F3, F4, F5. But at the same time, these drivers just have so much confidence, no matter what division they're in, to absolutely chuck the car into corners. You take, for example, the PCF1, Jarno Otmir. For me, I wasn't even aware that Maggots and Beckett's, you didn't have to brake. I always broke. There's just little things where these drivers just have so much more confidence than the regular player. To give them the time that they've practiced, the time of being able to dial in and get perfect runs going. Unfortunately for Piotr, it's not a perfect run. He's invalidated his lap time, so he's going to be in a quick scurry to try and get back to the pits as soon as possible before the next car ends up coming up towards the line, and that'll be Nelson Alves, who's still on a valid lap. Let's see where he's going to be able to put the TES car up in the standings so far. Q2. Promising stuff here for TES. That's all I'm saying. They've got out of Q1. I believe. I'm a believer. Jan Hardy improves immediately. We will see drivers coming across the line here in rapid succession. Patrick Sipos as well, the Ferrari driver looking to come up towards the line. Where's he going to be able to place himself? Because the gaps, again, are incrementally small. It is ridiculous. Oh, I just want to go into the race. Can we skip Q3?
Oh, this race is going to be definitely exciting and worth waiting for. Ika Baena about to come over the line. Let's see their effort as well. Up to P6 he goes, 3/10 behind right now Lenny Pepinta, who has set the pace. And Dylan Rowan is going to try and get on terms. Let's see what the first sector time is looking like. 18.9 for Dylan Warren, and he'll look to try continue and push on throughout the second and third sector. But yeah, it's amazing to see these drivers pushing on through these corners in ways which we cannot do it, and I absolutely cannot do it. There was a reason why I was not seen in the commentary done at the end of last.
I think your microphone is having an absolute moment, Omi. It's static, it's shaking. We understood what you said. That these drivers are just a different breed at the end of the day, aren't they? They are phenomenal talents, no matter where you look. I can see a couple of rain droplets already falling. We've got Brooksy as well saying he's rooting for Klaffenbach. Let's go, mate. Timo once again doubling down with it's raining. How much time do these drivers have to be able to try and put together a lap on the board to move themselves further up? Dylan Warren there, P9, already showing the track condition isn't always looking optimal at this moment in time, and a couple drivers still looking to try and get something sorted. We've got both McLaren drivers who both invalidated their laps initially, looking to try and get something on the board. Again, I told you guys, if I say something nice about someone, it all ends up backfiring, doesn't it? I praised McLaren, said it was a great job they got through into Q2 together, looking to try and march into Q3, and it looks like the weather might have got to them here.
Absolutely. Drops starting to fall around Montreal, and it means that right now the drivers will be battling over that 11th position, and it will be ever harder trying to get into the top 10 unless it dries up, which we don't expect to, because Timo, with his rain reports telling us that it's also going to be raining in Q3, so we probably wouldn't expect it to dry up in this part of qualifying, meaning that the laps that we've got, the top 10 that we've got, might be the top 10 that duel for pole position later on. But right now, Stouchele still wanting to set a lap time on the board, even in these tricky conditions where the rain is falling, but he's still on those slick compound of tyres at the moment.
Absolutely. Valentino Labella and Declan Barrett both rolling out the garage as well. They're going to be trying their luck in these conditions, but it would take an absolute miracle of a lap time to see these guys move up in towards that top 10. Perhaps Max and Dylan aren't too far out of reach. Maybe Julian as well, but you would assume the likes of Yost, Iker, Nelson, they're safe. They can retire from the session if they necessarily want to. It might just be one of those situations where they might just have to wait for a little bit of time as Pure to move themselves up there into P11, and you can tell that 5/10 difference. That's not on pace alone. That's down to track conditions, and it is just an unfortunate case, I believe, here of a couple of these drivers not being able to beat the rain coming out in time, and they might be seeing the end of their qualifying here.
Yep, always definitely a rush out onto the circuit for the drivers, and some unfortunately weren't able to get a lap time on the board, so it means they will be left trying to work their way up through in the race. Luckily, they will have plenty of overtaking opportunities to do so, but they will now be watching with the rest of us to see who's going to take pole, but they're still giving us something to watch at this part of the session as they set some lap times on the soft compound tyres, with the drops falling now as well, harder and harder. Declan Barrett, we're currently watching.
Absolutely. It's one of those things, isn't it, where you don't necessarily realise how utterly difficult it is to drive on the slick tyres in the rain. And I know that sounds really stupid, right? Of course it's difficult, Josh, you melon. What are you on about? Stop yapping. But I implore people, try and give it a go. Traction control off, ABS off. Give it a go. Just try and go. I expect a lot of you in chat be able to do it. Probably not at the same rate that these drivers, but at the same time, it can be so difficult just to make sure, especially if you're trying to maximise a lap time. It can be somewhat of a taxing challenge, because all it takes is one mistake. You've invalidated lap time, you start to get maybe a bit frustrated that, you know, you're out and it's not necessarily your fault in the qualifying. So for me, that's going to be sort of a key thing I'm going to be trying to keep an eye on here for a couple of these drivers to see how it would affect their mental. Of course, majority of these guys, fully trained professionals, similar to yourselves in chat as well. Because I see a couple of you guys, I would call professional. Timo, professional weatherman. Can we get him that role? Is that a thing we can do? Can we hire him as a weatherman?
Well, he was giving me some weather reports throughout the event as well, throughout the Merva Cup last time out. So yes, he loves giving those weather reports. Someone's telling me whether it's raining or not as well, because sometimes I say it's raining and it's not raining. But luckily I was right as well, and Timo confirming that one for me, as we see Angelo then come over the line in 14th, 3.3 seconds off. Definitely not due to skill, all due to the rain that's falling in the circuit, becoming ever harder as well to drive on the slick compound of tyres. And it's Labella currently in 15th, bringing his lap also to a close very, very shortly.
Absolutely. But you've got to consider at the same time, given what we've seen with the dry running, and we've seen a couple of drivers absolutely fly in Q1, didn't we? Do we think they've gone for a dry setup? Or do we feel like a couple of them might have gone for a slightly mixed, slightly more towards that wet side, believing in the pace to be able to get out of Q1, to be able to get out of Q2, in order for when the rain eventually does come, and if it is going to get stronger, to potentially go onto the intermediates or maybe even extremes, to try and push that slightly further and try and get themselves an advantage into the qualifying, because we know the weather around here in Montreal. Of course, we're on a lake, not necessarily in the middle of nowhere. There's a beautiful city around. I'd encourage anyone who's even mildly interested in Montreal to go and visit if you've got the opportunity. But with that being said, the weather around here, it can fluctuate very, very quickly. And I want to see if any of these drivers might have took that into account. Perhaps with a couple of their run plans in qualifying. We saw a couple of them being a little bit gentle, breaking in the soft compound tyres, using them very sparingly. Perhaps it could go back to dry.
It absolutely could as well, and that's something that we will find out throughout this qualifying session in Q3. Some drivers starting to retire as no one's right now expecting anything better to come. Labella is still out there on the circuit, the only driver out there on the circuit. But yes, different conditions, different setups. It all still could change around. So excited to see how that is going to play out.
Right, Omi, I know you've not been in E-Series for the entirety of the season, but I'm going to be very unfair on you. And I also want chat's opinion here, right? Who's going to grab pole position if they get one run in the dry, and who's going to grab pole position if it's full wet? Like intermediate, not full wet, but you know what I mean. Come on.
Right, okay. Well, I'm just going to pick randomly from this one. Jan Halliday, as you put in a brilliant drive yesterday in PCF2, I'm just going to say him. I'm relying on him now.
Another shameless plug. Chat, I want to see what you guys think, both on Twitch and YouTube. Come on, put a couple of entries forward. I want to see what you guys think, because for me, I feel like it would be Lenny. He's currently sitting at the top in Q2, but he has shown very strong pace throughout the first couple of rounds. I want to see something special from him. Same time as a couple of the drivers. Angelo, unfortunately, my pick to go and potentially be one of those to get through into Q3, falling down by the wayside. But we can guarantee we will be saying goodbye to 3 drivers here, and that'll be Angelo, Valentino, and Declan. Perhaps McLaren might have a miracle. Either that or a hairdryer to try and dry out the track a little bit more. You never know. At the end of the day, anything can happen. But it is very, very, very... Do you want to add a couple more berries in there, Romy?
Yes, definitely. Very, very tricky out there on the circuit. I'll let you continue now.
Absolutely. Patrick Supos going out on a set of intermediate tyres. So the drivers trying to get a little bit more prep in, thinking about, okay, if it's raining Q3, it's going to get wetter. It's going to get to 100% towards those intermediate conditions. It will be, a little bit difficult to adjust from the soft over to the intermediate. Of course, some of the racing lines, some of the sort of techniques used to drive the cars is going to alter just a little bit over onto the groove tyres. So for them, just going out, getting a couple laps under the belt on an intermediate tyre won't do them any harm whatsoever. It, of course, builds with confidence, keeps it going. Rehard's in chat saying Reese is the one to watch. So me and Rehard's both picking Race Clutch. Omi, time's come, my friend. Jan Halliday, how much do you believe?
I'm just believing in him because he won the race in F2 yesterday. So,
which you can watch on YouTube after the stream.
Yes, absolutely. Not right now. Not right now. Stay with us right now. After.
Please. Please stay with us. Please. Can we just... Huh? Okay, right. Timing data, completely whack there. Decided to tell me that was a 108 flat there from Patrick Cepos. I can guarantee you that one wasn't true. Probably just another feature of the illustrious game. But on those intermediate tyres, around a circuit like Montreal, let's just say they're prone to getting a little bit warm. Let's just say that, right? Tyres, they will overheat naturally, especially when the driver's pushing them to the same extent that these guys are. But also, Montreal not necessarily being too forgiving on tyres. It's not forgiving on brakes, but fortunately they don't have to worry about brakes, and we don't have to worry about wearing them out. But at the same time, it will heat up the internal the internal centre of the tyre, not the carcass. But of course, that heat radiates across, goes out to the outside wall of the tyre, so to say, and can cause a little bit of extra deg. But we saw why do I keep saying last night? We saw in PCF1 drivers suffer with punctures. So if anyone is planning to go for this intermediate ones, no-stop sort of race strategy, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to pull it off, just to say the very least. Because it will need nurturing, like a little child, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you keep mentioning yesterday, because I think you want people to watch the CF2 stream after this one.
Oh, is that the PCF2 stream which happened yesterday?
Yes.
Was that the one where you yourself and Corey pulled off an absolute blinder?
Yes.
Oh,
indeed.
well, of course, you guys got to go watch the F2 stream after this one again. Okay, seriously though, enough yapping on my side. Very little else is going to be happening throughout the remainder of this Q2 session. With 10 seconds left to go. We're all just priming in a set of intermediate tyres. None of them really looking to try and go for that one lap to be able to improve the times, given the fact the track has got wetter. very little I can say, very little I can stop to do to try and make this a little bit more entertaining. So, Omi.
You love making it entertaining.
I try my absolute hardest. Unfortunately, I'm not very good at it. But we can see the DRS is still active.
Yes.
Safety concern.
Well, I'm not really surprised because it's time to give another mention. It was actually on PCF4. It was on last year's game. We had DRS open in when it was fully raining. Still DRS open, and it completely changed the race. So yes, just some additional features I believe,
Yes.
as well.
I mean,
you still want to keep it, yeah.
You gotta love features, guys. Come on, it's a beautiful part. Of course, you know, FIA a discrepancy of whatever they decide is enough rain to deactivate the DRS. But for me, it could be very interesting to somewhat see how a couple of these cars and how a couple of the drivers will really try and adapt to, of course, the new regs coming in 26, presumably new game, hopefully a new game. They won't just update this one. But yeah, overall, for the new cars, you've got the split DRS between the rear and front wing, but it's not DRS anymore. It's like X mode, attack mode, somewhat. I don't know. For me, I want to see how that's going to work in the gaming space. I want to see how that's going to be able to work in esports and what drivers will be able to maximise out of it. But we do have to say goodbye to 5 drivers. Those drivers will be Piotr Stachulek, Simeon Lekomsky, Declan Barrett, Valentino Bella, and Angelo Durasenzio. From this session, of course, not all down to their fault. It was just timing on track, and it was raining a little bit more. So I'm eager to see what we're going to be able to do in the race, because I would hope that a couple of those drivers are going to be able to drive themselves back up in towards the points. But I was about to say, look at the amount of different cars we've got in Q3, but we're all the same car, we're just painted slightly different. Look at all the colours we've got in Q3, Omi. For me, it should be a very entertaining start to the race, given how little teamwork a couple of these teams won't be able to employ. Looking at Ferrari there, they're very good at somewhat bouncing off each other. Perhaps a bit too good, to be quite honest with you. But with the likes of Race Clutch Speed up there, they've got an opportunity. Aston Martins, they've got an opportunity. And again, no Red Bull. Those standings, they're certainly going to change at the end of this one. That's all I can say.
It definitely seems like that way. The standings will be changing by the time that we get to the end of the 35 laps, as they all fly into action at the end of the pit lane, and they all make their way onto the circuit, in a rush onto the circuit. Great, see pretty at this stage on the circuit.
So, with this rating coming down heavier, to the point cars are voluntarily drifting out of turn 3. Sorry, turn 4. Honestly, it's a long day, boys. Long day, let's say that much. But drivers look at try and maximise this early outrunning before more rain comes down, before they have to go over to the extreme wets. Who are we going to be keeping an eye on here, Ronan? Because realistically, we won't be able to capture everyone. Everyone's pushing at this point. One surprise, we've seen a couple of the cars jumping inside each other. There we go. We can already see it with Dylan already decided to try and ghost inside another car to try and get himself slightly further up in the track position. Who are we going to keep an eye on?
Well, I think there is definitely many to keep an eye on. But I am probably one of the Race Clutch drivers, as you've predicted them for pole. We've also had Rehart who's predicted them for pole as well. Different drivers, so let's pick one of them. Reese Linton you're going for.
Absolutely.
As he makes his way out of the final corner and down towards turn number 1.
Let's have a little look at Reese Linton here for what could potentially be the one-shot lap in Q3. Yona, we are aware Omi's microphone's having a bit of a moment. We're doing our best to fix it at the same time, but unfortunately there's only so much we're able to do while running the broadcast, as we see Reese now struggling his way through. This time, very little slide in comparison to that outlap. Not necessarily looking to try and get the tyres warmed, of course. He's going to be looking for as minimal slide as possible to try and maximise his traction through a couple of these key critical points on the circuit. You can see here before getting on to this long back straight. Thankfully, the DRS has been turned off. Someone at the FIA has decided to wake up today before checking it in as late as possible under the bridge. That little bit of a dry section doesn't worry the drivers too much. They're able to carry enough dampness on the tyres to not let that really affect him. But we see Reese here piling his way down towards the hairpin, trying to aim just about to get the car rotated, taking a very shallow line there, looking to try and get the car back towards in a straight line before heading up towards this back straight again, just before the wall of champions, keeping it over to the right hand side to minimize the amount of distance he's traveling on track before the car naturally sways back over to the left to try and pick his braking point here. We're going to see here just about past the 100-meter board, very late on the brakes there from Reese, sliding the car back on the exit, trying to keep it as straight as possible from the wall of champions up towards the start-finish line. And Reese Linton there gets himself time on the board. Jos Nordyke, though, getting a slight improvement of 0.5 of a second. Again, so many of these drivers picking up invalidations, though. How many of these drivers have just been able to keep it clean? Lenny Papinta jumping back up there to provisional pole. Drivers all over the place at the moment. How many more of these drivers are going to see be able to just put a lap time on the board? Max and Julian both not able to get a representative lap time on the board, unfortunately for them in this qualifying session so far. But you've got to think if they go again, they could potentially see themselves jumping up into P9, because with the way this weather is falling at the moment, this could very much be the starting grid we're looking at for the beginning of a race.
It definitely could. Rain falling ever harder, and they're on those intermediate compound of tyres. So it's Pepinta right now, the Nordyke, Bayanas, Sipos, and Warren, the top 5 at the moment. And this could well be the grid, but battle for 9th and 10th definitely still will go on with both of those two in validating. And Max also having a little spin as well and drifting the car all around at the end of the hairpin, and Klaffenbach doing the exact same, all having a bit of fun on their outlaps in these conditions as Linton comes into the pit lane, and he'll be followed by most of the field.
If not all of the field, it wouldn't surprise me if a couple of these drivers don't necessarily want to go and do another lap in these conditions. Of course, it is treacherous. The last thing I want to do is tarnish any form of confidence for might have been able to bolster up here, as we're seeing the rest of them all falling back into the pit boxes, having to wait. Of course, F1 World Cars, certainly interesting pit boxes, to say the very least. Did a little bit of research, one of our beautiful managers and engineering team, that it's decided on who goes into the pits first to 10th. They all get sorted, so there won't be any double stacking, and then 11th to 20th, a very similar thing. Try and minimise the risk of double stacking unfairly, so hopefully won't see anyone getting caught out with any unfortunate circumstances. But at the same time, qualifying works a little bit differently, and because it works a little bit differently, drivers might have to queue up behind there, as I do believe we saw with, I believe it was one of the race clutching Ferraris.
Yes, absolutely. So it does mean that that definitely can happen, and we've got some cars heading back out onto the circuit.
Max?
As well, got Max heading out there, as you can see right now on your screen, as he'll bring it off pit lane as well. And Reese Linton also going out. He's the other car further back right now in your screen as well. So they're going to try and bring up some magical lap as well. And Klaffenbach will be hoping for that as well, as he right now would be starting 10th, and that would be behind Max. Those two not able to get a due to invalidating, which cost them massively. And that's the thing, you got to perform in those type of situations. With the rain coming in, they weren't able to keep it with the right lines, which means they're currently 9th and 10th, putting a lot of pressure on them. But they'll try their best to improve, but the circuit and the rain is getting pretty bad out there.
Yeah, the fact Julian's already opted to go to a set of wet tyres, potentially forfeiting any opportunity he would have to try and move himself slightly further up the order. A bit of a key indicator for me about this track condition. Intermediates aren't the one, but it's very much a bit of a balancing act, isn't it, Obi? Where you've got to balance trying to make it comfortable to drive in, or at least comfortable enough to keep it on the track, but quick enough to be able to keep yourself competitive, because the extreme wets, they're not necessarily that tyre they used to be. They're not that one-shot sort of material where you can go onto that tyre when it is really heavy rain and expect a similar level of performance of what the intermediates would give. They're very, very similar when it comes to heavy wet, and it can be a bit of a difficult toss-up between going over to the intermediates or going over to the wet tyres, because you will naturally lose more time on the wet tyres, but it will allow you that little bit more freedom to take better lines through a couple of the corners where it might just be a bit too slippery, there might be a bit too much oil on the track, which has been brought up by the rain on the circuit, for the intermediates to really be able to get a hold onto. So for me, it's going to be a little bit interesting, because Julian's already dove it back into the pits, presumably to get on a set of intermediates, but by that point, with the rain still coming down, very little improvements are going to be across the board. So I'm expecting Max here to guarantee himself a P9 and Julian to start P10. But then again, I'll be very pleasantly surprised, as apparently Max goes purple in the middle sector. Is that another feature?
It seems like it is another feature. I was having quite a bit of fun with inventing features. We created an extra pit lane last week. We've had lots of stuff that has gone on in the game. So yeah, lovely to see that we're still discovering plenty of amazing features as well. As we see Max then bring it over the line, and he will get himself up to P8 then.
And considering he was able to find that much of a gain, perhaps there's a little bit more time for a couple of these other drivers to maybe just try and find a couple extra attempts here or there. Because Max moving himself past Nelson now, that shows Nelson maybe didn't get the lap he was exactly hoping for. So hopefully for Nelson, he's going to be able to make a little bit of a bounce back, move himself up a couple of extra positions. But Yost, it's too wet. 2.1 seconds down, no improvement for him. We've got Patrick, we've got Dylan, and then of course, Danny Pepinta, both of which decide to dive it into the pits. They're not looking to try and get any improvements, so that could potentially be it for the qualifying with 3 minutes left to go. As we do have a brilliant question in chat of from Gamer Gabri. There we go, it took me a moment to read that one. Why are teams of the official teams in real life don't use the official cars? Because unfortunately, down to the way the game is made, some of the real life teams have different performance compared to the others, even when it's put onto equal performance mode. Again, sometimes at this point, it could just be a placebo effect from the trauma they've served in the last couple of years of suffering. But at the same time, it's better to keep the integrity, right? The last thing we want is teams getting an unfair advantage because, you know, their parent team is, let's say Aston Martin, for example. The last thing we want is the Aston Martin team running away with the title because they're in an Aston Martin. We want it to be as fair as possible. Simplest way to do that, put them all into the exact same chassis. And that's exactly what we're seeing here with the F1 World Cars. It can be a bit difficult, but thankfully, the drivers who are racing with the community teams, who have free right to customise their livery as they wish, do have to race with their tag, while the official cars, as you can see here with Declan Warren, for example, don't have a tag and try to colour as similar as possible to their real-life counterpart over at the Scuderia factory. But, noticing there's no blue. Where's the blue? Jonah, sort your boys out. Get a bit of blue on that car. But, going out again for another couple of laps, expecting no sort of time gain here. Omi, if I say there's going to be no time gain, we're trying to reverse jinx it, so there is time gain, so we're going to see a bit of a change.
Yes, absolutely. I'm expecting to see a lot of improvements out there on the circuit. Never seen a better circuit in my life. And look at Dylan Warren enjoying himself on the straight as well, up towards turn number 8. And yes,
it's a little butt waggle on over these cars. It's just been about this year's game where you can just give it a little lag, try and get a bit of temp into the rears. To me, it's so amusing to see the way the cars somewhat bounce back and try and straighten themselves up again. Oh, it's brilliant. I do love to see it. But someone who wasn't too keen on seeing it, Jan Halliday, he's decided to drive past and try and get a bit of track position. I'm not sure how good it's going to be, as we're starting to see them all lighting up the rears a little bit, giving their bums a little bit of a wag, showing the gearbox off to those in attendance around the world. But as far as lap times go, I don't think we're going to see too much of an improvement. I'll say again. But I can be pleasantly surprised. So, tell you what, do you want to run us through a wet lap around Montreal here with Jan Halliday, Omi?
Well, first of all, let's hope that he can keep it on the road as he makes his way down towards turn number 1 as well. And he'll be now making his way through turn number 2, hoping to get on the power without the rear twitching as well. As we make our way now down towards turn number 3, there can be a lot of drama at this corner, possibly some cars flying. We'll see about that in the race. The collisions are off for now as Jan Halliday continues to push on, and he's up by nearly 0.4 of a second, so possibly we are going to be seeing some improvements. Nelson Alves goes up into P6. Can Jan Halliday though continue that in the second sector? The rain seems like has eased off, and it means that Jan Halliday now attacking over the curb through turn number 8 and now making his way down towards the hairpin, overtaking opportunity in the race. But for now, he's going to be worrying about getting it slowed down, and he's up now by 0.5 of a second. So he continues to push on, he continues to attack through this lap then, and then it's all about getting on the power. Now you've done a lot of the hard part of the lap, but we still have a very hard chicane to go where you're trying not to invalidate, and let's see whether he will be able to do it. You'll get on the brakes and then straight away try and get it turned in while keeping on the power. Gets on the power now, doesn't hit the wall of champions. Let's see what this lap can be for Jan Halliday. Dylan Warren currently in first position with that lap. Jan Halliday joins him. He is in second place right now. So a good effort from Jan Halliday. What can Julian Klappenbach do? He didn't get the timing right on the first run, and on the last run it's going to be good enough for P1. Great stuff from Julian Klappenbach. Lenny Papinta though, can he take it away? He can take it away. Lenny Papinta takes it away right at the end of the session. Lots of improvement at the end, and the one-shot qualifying we thought first of all at the start is going to be a two-shot, as they've been given a run right at the end, over by 7,000ths of a second. Papinta's done it, so it seems like the reverse jinx worked.
Chat, we've found the solution to the commentator's curse. Just make them say what you don't want to happen, and it'll... absolutely brilliant stuff. Lenny Papinta picking up the pole position then by... Oh, that's ridiculous. And Dylan as well. These three, honestly. Miraculous stuff. Patrick in P4, Ike in P5, Riesland in P6, Jan Halliday P7, Jos Nordijk P8, Nelson P9, and Max sitting in P10. As far as things go, that was ridiculous, Obi. What an end to the qualifying. I expected no gains whatsoever. I wasn't just saying it. I expected no one to really make an improvement. But of course, engineers working with these drivers saw the rain would have been lightening up and absolutely dialed it to perfection to be able to maximise it. Of course, we've got the mandatory lobby restart now. Of course, we don't want a race when no one can collide or get slipstream. That'll just be a bit boring, right? Okay. These drivers are professionals. They know how to avoid other drivers. But for me, it's a bit of a challenge, right? But I'll tell you what does help me, especially on the time trial leaderboards, is the use of SRC setups. For me, absolutely fantastic, able to gain a lot of time with them. Maybe for those of you at home as well, could be able to gain a little bit of time with them. So, without further ado, let's hear from our sponsors while we enjoy this little bit of a break. Go get yourselves a drink, go get yourself something to eat before we end up coming back with some racing action here around Montreal. Well, we're back. Hopefully, you guys have stayed around. I mean, we know lobby restarts can be a bit of a farce, not necessarily the greatest sort of solution, but at the same time, it's the best solution we've got here, of course. But a solution a couple of the other teams might have, especially if they've not had a great run out in qualifying so far, would be to look further across over at the calendar and see where they might be able to go, get a little bit of that shimmer back, of course. Currently on round 4 Canada, we've done Monaco, we've done Coda, we've done Jeddah, but there's an awful lot more left to play for, Omi.
Yes, there absolutely is as well. We have Austria, Belgium, Britain, and then we have Las Vegas and Bahrain to end the season. Bahrain, where it can get pretty wild. So some amazing races definitely coming up throughout this season. Looking of which driver is strong at a specific track could be a good idea to put them in for that race as well. So they definitely are going to be planning ahead, especially if they've not had the season, as you mentioned, that they would have wanted.
Absolutely, and you would consider a couple of these development drivers on the younger side to really try and crack down and make a pitch for the reason why they should be picked for, you know, a race like Imola, a race like Belgium, a race like Silverstone, where they can put in the time beforehand to be able to go back to the team and go like, hey, I was able to get this down for my race pace over 25, over 30 laps. You know, surely this puts me at the top of the list, and it very much could be the start of a brilliant thing, where they're given that little bit of more time to somewhat balance stuff out with the team, and kind of rebound a little bit between themselves, the official drivers, and of course their other development drivers. Because at the same time, it very much can seem like a bit of a competition between a couple of the teams internally for which driver's going to drive where. Of course, a couple of teams which have fewer drivers here and there, it won't necessarily feel like too much of a competition to get into an opportunity to race here in E-Series. But for the teams which have an abundance of drivers, you know, the likes of the Veloce Academy come to mind, right? They've got so many drivers. How are you going to be able to split yourself off from the rest of them around certain tracks to be able to say, right, you're definitely going to get picked? For me, that is just something that I've always wondered, and I'd love to know the sort of process which goes behind that for the teams to be able to just select and go, right, okay, Sammy, you're going in for Canada. I like what you've done behind the scenes. I just wish I could know, but then again, I'm sure the other teams would like to know, so they can pick at the same time and kind of counteract one another. Very much like chess, isn't it, Omi? One team makes a move by putting in, let's say, a Freddie Rasmussen, and the next thing you know, Barry Burman's been put in by Ferrari, and then next thing you know, David Tadit's been put in from Tandem. You know, it's very much chess. All of them trying to match up to try and get themselves the most amount of points possible with the drivers they think is going to be able to reward them with the most amount of points possible, because of course points do mean prizes here at E-Series. Some brilliant prizes, great cash incentives, especially for the community teams. Surely you've got to think, as far as community teams go, you'd be a bit of a fool to try and not take a chance. Let's say that.
Absolutely agree with that one. But yeah, would be lovely to know the process that goes in for every team as well. Now we are going to be getting ready to go racing around Canada. We've got lots of exciting races coming up, but we've still got a race to do here tonight coming our way in a few moments' time. The grid's going to be getting set up, and then we'll get the 35 laps underway with possibly some drivers out of position, trying to change that, trying to make their way through in the race. So I think this one could be pretty wide open.
Yeah, it could be absolutely fantastic. Thinking about how many overtaking opportunities the DRS zones. Well, I was about to say they're not long enough. One of them's long enough. The other two could be a little difficult to try and get cooking. But at the same time, we have seen drivers take some very bold overtaking moves to try and move themselves around the grid, try and bolster a couple of their positions. Could potentially see a couple of drivers going absolutely wild on lap one, trying to gain a little bit of extra track position, especially if the weather conditions are anything like we saw in qualifying, where it is a little bit wet and they don't have the luxury of DRS to help keep them in touch with the rest of the field. It could throw up some spanners. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not a fan of boring traditional races, but at the same time, I do quite like a little bit of DRS to spice things up. I do like a little bit of team play between both the drivers, where they can somewhat kind of move themselves around in a more of a strategic manner rather than necessarily just completely going for it, trying to split away from the pack. Because to me, that can be, you know, a little bit repetitive to see. So for me, that's the reason why E-Series, that's why I like it so much. That's why I think it's absolutely brilliant. As we have been asked, is that the real Ed Sheeran on the right? I feel like someone might have to learn my rights and lefts. But no, he is not Ed Sheeran. Neither am I, unfortunately. But we do have Ed Sheeran in the chat. He's under the name of Nathan Richards. He's applied as moderator here at PSGL. So please feel free to ask him for an autograph. He never signed mine. Did he ever get back to you, Omi?
I still need to ask him. I'll actually do that tomorrow.
Yes.
Definitely need to go chase him up on that one.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that'll be tomorrow. Richie, get ready.
Yes. Nefanius Richardus, I believe he'll be known as tomorrow. He goes by different names on different days. It's very odd, but he's made 100% set. Brilliant stuff. Apparently, Omi, you've got a microphone, so you're a singer. If only there was a way people would be able to donate to charity to make you sing tomorrow. If only. Oh, wait, there is. Well, brilliant.
We've got a lot of other stuff going on. I'm sure you can ask our lovely moderator, Richie, about all of that in the live chat. He still made an effort, even though he can't be here in the commentary box. I've taken one of his other jobs that he had as well. Already took PCF2, now starting to take over E-Series. But yes, you can ask him lots of questions. He's made an effort, even when having COVID, to get his phone, go in the live chat, and hopefully you all can entertain him in that live chat.
He's a warrior. I'll say that much. I know we've seen drivers before try and race with COVID, but Nathan thinking, right, okay, my voice is going to be up to it. I've got a massive event on the next couple of days. I'm going to need a bit of rest. Don't blame him one bit for taking a bit of a breather to make sure his throat and his voice is going to be absolutely spiffing for tomorrow, which again would encourage everyone to try and check out if you do have a time, because we do have some fantastic drivers taking part, which for me is going to be an absolute key. I've heard a couple of rumours that there might be even a couple of F1 esport drivers showing up in racing, which could be a couple of fireworks here and there. But of course, we've got F1 esport drivers on this grid at the moment. Omi, who's winning?
Well, putting more pressure on me.
Just one name. Just one name. Stop stalling. Name. Go. Go.
Okay, let's just go with... Right, I'm going to put my hope in Jan Halliday again.
Okay, chat, let us know who you
Okay,
think's going to be able to go and grab the win here. Jan Halliday from Omi. Let's see. Of course, drivers applying the setups again, taking the time. There's no rush. They can pace themselves. But when it comes to strategy, might be a bit of a rush. Go opening race direct, have a look. Who's on what tyre? Who's doing what? Anyone starting on the soft? Who's going on the mediums? Right, do I really want to get the boost, or would I just be better to sit on a pair of hard tyres and wait it out? But we will be getting the 5 lights underway here at Montreal for round 4. It's lights out and away we go. Brilliant start there from Lenny Pincher over on the left-hand side. Julian Klappenbach not getting a bad start himself. The RHG driver looking to try and pull along around the outside. Goes a little bit deep. Rejoining the track there. Unfortunate, ends up losing a position out to Dylan Warren there. Patrick Cepos and Ike Baida keeping him honest, trying to push him a little bit further along. Patrick Cepos now having the inside line. Just trying to bully Ike out of that racing line, but Ike has kept his nose in, but Williams driver is absolutely having none of it before having to re-yield the position there. Hopefully everyone's been able to make it through the first couple of corners okay, because we know it can be quite a bit of a technical struggle to try and get through, and everyone's opted for the hard compound tyre, apart from Patrick and Dylan, both the Ferrari drivers opting for something a little bit different, as Marcel Jaeger falls down the order, similar with Simeon Lukomsky. Unfortunately, not getting the run they would necessarily look for, but with everyone on the hard compound tyre, does that indicate maybe a little bit of rain later on in the race, or is that just going to be the preferred strategy, as we will see a couple of moves coming out here? Patrick Cepos on the medium compound tyre, making the most of that extra grip to get the move sorted on Julian Klappenbach already at lap 1 here, as we do have a bit of an incident towards the back of field, and I do believe that was Nelson Alves who was facing the wrong way. Omi, what an electric start to this race already.
Electric start. Julian Klappenbach though won't be too happy with that one. He got an electric launch off the line, couldn't do much with it. Tried to go around the outside, lost out to Warren, and then is lost out to the second medium runner of Cepos, who was able to get through as well. So it's Papinta holding lead at the front of the field with the fastest lap as well, but we're already starting to see some drivers trying to get on with it. These can be a few easy opportunities to make some moves and catch your rivals out. DRS now does open. The DRS train will start to form around this circuit, and we'll see who's going to be able to find their way through. But the two on the mediums will definitely be trying to go on the charge and trying to go on the attack, get ahead of Lenny Papinta, then maybe even try and pull away. But with DRS being powerful, it can be pretty tricky at the same time, as well as Cepos goes over the road in the background, rejoining as well. And we see Ike Bain are trying to put some pressure on for P4's Klappenbach, having to defend. He's not having the opening 2 laps to the race that he would have wanted.
He's certainly not as well, but you've got to consider a couple of these teams are in absolutely fantastic positions. Of course, both of Ferraris, immediate attention, both on the medium tyres, both gone for something different to give themselves a little bit more grip to try and get themselves up towards the front of the field, where they're able to work together. And for me, that is going to be the key in order to be able to maximise your result here as a team, which is, of course, the whole point of E-Series. None of these drivers are going out there gunning it alone. They're working together to try and get the maximum amount of points for the team. Again, another similar team, you could say, the likes of Aston Martin, both Jan Halliday and Jos Noordijk, P6, P8, both on a hard compound tyre. Perhaps you could see a bit of team play between those guys. But as far as things go, Reese Linton and Lenny Papinta a little bit too far away, currently sitting P7 and P1 respectively. But again, anything can happen around Montreal. It is one of those circuits. All it'll take is to drive a push a little bit too hard lose their end plate, and next thing you know, this entire field is split apart. But everyone so far is staying within the DRS. No one's gone absolute full send just yet, as we see Julian Klaffenbach making yet another mistake. He's certainly feeling a little bit of a pressure coming his way. The RHG driver having to keep a calm head, understand, okay, you've lost a couple positions, let's nail it down, let's focus in, and let's get ourselves back into that mojo to be able to hold on to the back of the C-Post and slowly start reining him in once those hard tyres come back into a working window.
Yep, absolutely, and it's crucial to also stay inside the 1 second. And if you aren't inside the 1 second, then you could find yourself in a lot of trouble with lots of drivers attacking behind, and also you'll start to lose some time while battling with the drivers behind. You just want to stay with the leaders at this stage. But yeah, Dylan Warren and C-Post not able to find a way through. Currently on our leader Papinta for race clutch as well, so he's holding it at the front of the field. As Ika Baena looks like he's been racy so far on the back of Julian Klaffenbach. Maybe a little bit too racy though, because he's earned himself a 3-second time penalty. And with how close the margins are when we get to the end of the race, that could be very critical for him.
It could be absolutely critical, as we've got Ishmael in chat saying, bring back the V12s. I completely agree. There's a reason I tend to turn the engine volume up when I play alone. It's because I love the sound of these V6 hybrids. They are so beautiful. But something which might be a little bit more beautiful is going to be the opportunity. Reece Linton's looking to try and crack himself in towards a hairpin. Can't brake too much later. But again, Jan braking late enough just to keep his car fully ahead to not give Reece any sort of opportunity. Yona Mines as well saying, yeah, we might be on the wrong strategy here. Never say never, Yona. We believe in opportunities and what you have manufactured at Ferrari. I say you as a generalised term, not specifically you, but by going on the mediums, you're both together on track. That opens a window of opportunity. It's going to be exciting to see what Ferrari are going to be able to somewhat conjure up here, if there's going to be any sort of brave moves. And we do see Valentino Labella down in P12, setting the fastest lap of this race. Oh, what was the line Oscar Piastri said? Clean air is king?
Absolutely. Clean air, definitely.
Cleaner in brackets, cleaner air, let's say.
Absolutely. As well. And, oh, look at this. They're all getting very close together. Starchiller given a 3-second time penalty as well for multiple warnings. Baena continuing to attack Klaffenbach 1-10 between those two drivers. And it does mean that you could be making a dive bomb if an opportunity does come. But now Ika Baena from the attack to the defense. Jan Halliday also in there as well, as we get on the brakes through the hairpin we go, and that is going to be an opportunity pulling alongside. Starchiller also trying something as we ride on board with Reece Linton though. He's going to have an opportunity to get past Jan Halliday using a little bit of the air at this stage of the contest. Still a long way to go in this one, and there's no move right now incoming for Reece Linton as we make our way through the final corner of this one now. Lap 6.
Oh my word. I thought Reece would have had him there for a second, but it was almost as if someone turned a battery on in Jan Halliday's car and he's able to go flying up the road. It's almost as if, almost. But again, Jan Halliday doing a great job holding onto that position, also holding touch of Ika Baena. You can see him putting a little bit of pressure on and then ends up having to fall back, but he's not falling back enough for Reece to be able to launch an attack, which is going to be critical for his race. Yes, it would be lovely to see both the Astons on track together, to be able to work together, but when it comes to a track as potent as it is around Canada with Slipstream and DRS, it might just be better to have that car in between you guys so you can somewhat use it as a bit of a tow going down the straight. But then again, it all somewhat depends on what the driver in the middle decides to do, because if they're going to keep doing what Reece is doing and just be a bit of a nuisance, it might just be better to let him pass, let him burn a little bit more battery and get him back later in the race. But that's easier said than done, especially with the caliber of drivers we have at the moment, as we will see. That's Declan Warren trying to have a little look there at the inside, trying to get a little bit of clean air into the engine. Of course, engine overheating, another key part of this year's game. Certainly something which has certainly added a couple of other dynamics here, but with these drivers following so closely, they've done enough races, they've done enough practice, they know exactly what is going on. But real question is, how long is it going to be until one of these drivers decides, right, I've had enough sitting behind, I'm going to try and do something, I'm going to try and get a move, I'm going to try and push it a little bit too much and try and get some sort of overtake cooking, because Ika Baena here is looking very hungry in P5, trying to get something sorted on Klaffenbach. But Klaffenbach, holding his own. He's got into the mojo we was talking about earlier, Omi, and he's doing a fantastic job up in P4.
Doing a fantastic job indeed, and sometimes it can be pass or be pass stuff Right now, though, they are all behaving themselves. But if Klaffenbach isn't looking the most strong, then could a move be incoming? Trying to go the long way around. Ika Bayonet, they go into the braking zone. Klaffenbach momentarily hitting the back of Patrick Schipos, and Klaffenbach holding the 4th place for the moment. Bayonet is going to get another opportunity. He's been trying this move for a while. Is it finally going to work for him? Is he going to be able to pull alongside? You can see he's looking for it, but all the while, Klaffenbach trying to make a move of his own. The field so close together then, as they're about to come over the line to begin lap number 8, and still no move complete for Bayona. And Jan Halliday is waiting for his opportunity to dive to the inside. He might try and make a move as well, and he's going to try go the long way around. Is he going to be able to get there? I don't think he'll be able to get the power down and take the position, and somehow they're still in the same order after all of that one. They're attempting moves, but right now not successful for them.
Absolutely brilliant stuff, though, from these drivers, having the commitment to try for moves, knowing they'll be put on the outside of turn 2. Just shows the level of confidence they've got to full send into a couple of these scenarios. Far more than any of us would be able to anticipate. We could potentially see a couple of these cars as well maybe go for overtakes in maybe non-optimal positions, because of course that's going to be the best way to try and grab a position. It's going to be catching them by surprise. Last lap we did see Piotr Stachlik move past Declan Barrett for P9, but he does have a 3-second tyre penalty, which come back to bite him at the end of this race. But as far as things are going, all throughout the field, we can see so many different drivers using so many different lines, just trying to get themselves a better exit than the car in front. But no matter what happens, the slipstream overall, it's immense, isn't it? You can see the time being pulled away back on the straight, regardless of who's sitting where, because we still have almost all 20 drivers. We do have 19 of them, in fact, within a DRS of one another, as we do see Declan Barrett there slightly further in the background, looking to try and get moves sorted towards the inside. A little bit of argy-bargy there with Piotr Stachlik into the side pod. Ends up losing out of position there to Max in the process. Unfortunately for Declan, he's going to have to keep his head down and go again. Piotr Stachlik there doing a fantastic job holding on to P9. And now Max taking that opportunity to the most and getting himself up into the traditional points-paying positions. Of course, though, points given for every position here in E-Series, as long as you finish the race. That's the one condition.
Yep, absolutely. So even if you are having a bit of a lonely race, you still want to continue as well, going all the way through. And Julian Klaffenbach now is the attacker, it seems like, as we go down to the hairpin, having a little look to the inside, trying to take that wide line and get the car rotated and get some good traction. If he does use ERS, he'll have an overtaking opportunity to get through on this straight. Chucking right now in the toe that he will be getting. Is he about to pull alongside, as we are going to see a move from Jan Halliday getting past Ika Bayona, the top 4 though, holding positions right now at the moment, still getting a good exit and trying to get through. Is Klaffenbach going to be able to make the move? Once again, having a little look, but thinking better of it, because if you do risk it into braking zones, you could be risking contact only on lap number 10 out of 35. This race is going by quickly, but you definitely do want to be in play when we get to all of the strategies as well. And Klaffenbach definitely could find himself with the opportunity, even after going a little bit more calm at the start, but they'll definitely try to ramp it up when we get into the latter stages of this one. So phenomenal action so far. Hopefully it does continue throughout this one, and I'm sure it'll get even better.
Fingers crossed. And we saw there with that move Jan did, about an 8-10 gap was there for him to be able to actually get the slingshot effect, to be able to get the overtake sorted in Ica. But again, that gap was closed up dramatically over the first sector alone, let alone the second one, where it's closed up even more, as we are seeing a couple more of these drivers looking to try and get their noses in, just try and disrupt the exit of the car, heading onto this DRS straight to try and give themselves the best opportunity possible. As we're going to see Ica here looking to try and cook something up there from P6. Again, still holding up strong towards the front. Julian Klaffenbach making a move. Brilliant job from him to get past Patrick Sipos and move up towards Dylan Warren here. Perhaps the medium tyres coming towards that crossover point over for the hards, where the hards are going to be naturally quicker. But at that point, you would expect the Pavinders to be able to try and make a little bit more distance, especially through that second sector on the likes of Dylan Warren. As far as things go, though, it's looking very stagnant up towards the front. Doesn't look like anyone's showing the hand too early. They're more than happy to hold on to their cars before playing whatever they've been dealt.
Indeed. So some phenomenal stuff so far with drivers trying to make some moves, but if you do try and make a move that possibly isn't on, you could be going half sideways momentarily and losing out a position, and find yourself, instead of gaining one, to losing a place as well, as they currently attack their way through as well. And also seems like Reese Linton is possibly going to be trying to have a go. So Reese Linton going to the inside, trying to get past Ikabayan are close into the braking zone between the two of them, and it is going to be Reese Linton getting the power down. And will he have the position, or will Ikabayan be able to fight that one? Seems like Reese Linton is going to be able to get by. As also looking further up, we have possibly battling coming with Julian Coverbot trying his absolute best to get through. Is looking for the move momentarily, very nearly going 3 wide between these two drivers, as Max is given a 3-second time penalty. Definitely not what he wants. So we're seeing a few of these drivers pick up some 3-second time penalties, and will continue to do so the further that we go into this race.
And it's natural as well to be able to pick up these penalties, because these drivers are pushing at such an extreme level to hold on to the DRS, to get as close as possible to the car in front, to try and benefit themselves more in the slipstream, to save a little bit more battery, to get that DRS still within full effect. Because of course, you're a little bit too close to the car, you can find yourself a little bit vulnerable. If you're too far away from the car, of course you don't get the effect of a DRS. So it's about finding that perfect sweet spot between 4 and 6 tenths so you can get that slingshot effect. But again, not all the cars are going to be looking to do that. If you're the likes of let's say a Reese Linton, for example, you're looking to cause a little bit of disruption. If you're a Josh Snorder, you're looking to send it up the inside of Ikabayan. If you're a Max Grosspointer, you're looking just to fend your position. As Yost there making a brilliant move, he's going to be looking to try and get a 2-for-1 piece here using the DRS straight. But again, slipstream is king. Reese Linton just being able to hold on to that position, but Yost making a move there as well, showing there is potential to move slightly further up here for the Aston Martin team. Currently sitting P5, P7, looking a lot better than they did slightly earlier in the race. Marcel Bier picks himself up a 3-second time penalty. We are seeing more battles towards the field. Declan Barrett there looking to try and recreate a move he tried earlier, and it wasn't successful this time, trying to fight his around the outside there at turn 2. Brilliant stuff to be able to get the traction down. Great move, moving himself back up into P10. He's going to be on the hunt now to try and catch up to Max Grosspointer. Again, Max and Ika both having penalties. He wouldn't necessarily need to make the overtake, but it's in order for him to keep the DRS to the cars in front for when the pit stops do occur. And when do we think those pit stops are going to occur for the Ferrari team? Both on the medium compound tyre only. I'm not sure it's going to be too much longer.
Won't be too much longer when they're able to stay close most of the time, with the non-existent dirty air at times as well in the game, extra feature. But it does mean that currently, as we can see, the gap has been 7 tenths, 5 tenths. You're closing now with the DRS, but that's also sometimes signs for us that the mediums are fading away, and also that we're seeing a move from Julian Klavenbach pulling to the outside line. Is he going to be able to get through into the braking zone? He backs out of that one, does not want to risk it. If he did risk it even further, he could have left himself vulnerable. Stouchel has been given a penalty. He's battling up against Labella, so that might be why he's given that penalty. We did go off the road momentarily. Tyker Hardy trying to get involved as well, trying to go to the inside. Hardy's going to find a way through. 3 wide momentarily, bit of debris also coming off as Lukumski tries to get involved in this battle. Phenomenal action, but a bit of contact as they were risking it all. 3 wide into turn number 1, and then 3 wide on the exit as well.
Yeah, and how horrible to watch there for the McLaren team. One car on the inside. Of course, Valentino in the middle of both of the McLarens. Piotr wouldn't know his teammate as far on the outside. Lukomski almost being left hung out there to dry. But he does look to have a brilliant run here to try and get something sorted on Valentino Labella. And with all of that fighting, going 3 wide, pushing each other to ridiculous lengths, Tycho Hardy is still within the DRS. It is fantastic. You just can't write it, can you? It is fantastic to see.
Halliday battling as well with Patrick Sheepos, who's going to be able to get the power down. It's going to be Patrick just holding on to the position for the moment as we make our way down towards the chicane. But yes, it's getting very tight as the drivers are starting to get a little impatient, starting to get their way through as well. Lukumski finding a way by, and that's going to be an opportunity for Jan Halliday now to draw alongside. On the run down towards the first corner is Halliday going to have the position to get on the brakes, and he'll be able to get by. Still very close as they get on the power, but it's going to be Halliday with 4th place for the moment, and it seems like there was more battling further back, and Labella also dropping slightly down with that, and he's also been given a 3-second time penalty, so not going his way. Late dive bomb though for Max also to get past Ikabayan in the back corner, or at least attempting to, and Ikabayan finds himself dropping back behind Barrett as well, so that's not what he wanted, as Linton has got past Patrick Sheepos as well. Yeah,
and we do have a car round there. Do you believe that's Valentino Labella, who's found himself facing the wrong direction coming out of the corner? Hopefully no ill play there, no contact, hopefully for his sake. But we are seeing so many different lines from these drivers trying just to get any sort of momentum they can to try and get a move sorted. Yost here vulnerable to Max. Max currently inside of his car, No, it's not a tandem Formula 1 car. It is just a little feature we love to call here, as both of them are now going to be heading into the braking zone at the same time. Who's going to be able to come out on top? Who's going to carry a little bit more speed? At the end of the day, we could be seeing Yost here lose a position to Max. I'm sure the stewards might have something to say about that one, but at the end of the day, we've already seen Patrick dive it into the pits. Those medium tyres were absolutely cooked. I don't blame him for jumping off them as soon as he possibly could. Over to a set of hards, he'll be good to go until the end of this race.
So that's exactly what he is going to be trying to do, and then defend as well later on with everyone else charging. Labella's also dived it in after a bad few laps for him in a battle, getting penalties, and then also a spin or maybe some contact for him that sent him to the back, and he'll be going on the set of the medium compound of tyres as they continue to attack, continue to push on, and Klaffenbach getting very close to the back of Dylan Warren. And is he going to throw one to the inside? He is going to throw one to the inside, and Julian Klaffenbach will be able to move up to second place with that dive bomb under braking. And you'll also get DRS to now close in on Lenny Pepinta, but Dylan Warren, of course, struggling a bit on those mediums. Wouldn't be too surprised if we see him coming in as well, like his teammate has, as we make our way through. And there we go. In the background is Dylan Warren. He'll make his pit stop, also going onto the set of the hard compound of tyres.
Brilliant stuff from Julian to get himself up into P2, keep within the DRS to Lenny, which was going to be the key part of that overtake to make sure that when the Ferraris do pit, he still got that DRS, he can still gain a little bit of advantage. Ferraris now towards the back of field, P18, P19, they're going to have to do some very good, very efficient DRS trading in order to hold on to their position and not lose too much of a deficit, given how powerful the slipstream and the DRS can be around this Montreal circuit. For me, could be still ones to watch in this race. It could be interesting to see how we're going to be able to cook, but you can already see there from Patrick going for a pit stop a lap early. He's already half a second down. You've got to think that with these drivers on the hard compound tyres, as long as they're careful enough to not lose too much grip around a couple of these corners, you would expect that to still be the case come, what, lap 20, lap 22? I reckon the hard tyre window's probably going to come to a close. Yeah, I'd say around lap 22 would be where the opportunity to go for a set of mediums at the peak position would slowly start to fade away. But again, we are seeing so many of these drivers stay so close to one another, knowing that all they've got to do is stay within the DRS, and then after the pit window, it'll be gloves off. They'll be battling for positions left, right and centre, as we do see Angelo diving it into the pits there of the hard compound tyre. It'll be interesting to see strategy there, presumably onto a set of mediums to try and last it out until the end of a race. We are just over the halfway point now, so it could potentially be feasible for a couple of these drivers to start making their pit stops onto mediums now, but we got to think at the end of a race those medium tyres won't be looking too good, and they might struggle to hold on to the rest of the field.
Absolutely could be the case as well, so that would be interesting to see. That would be an answer that comes away in the remainder of this race. Still a lot to be discovered throughout this one, as unexpectedly fast lap going to Labella, putting on those new set of medium compound of tyres. That's a late lunge from Yus Noordijk, trying to get past Max under braking, and that was the move we were telling you about in qualifying. If you can try catch your rivals out, he wasn't quite able to do it though into the hairpin. You'll get another shot, but with everyone having DRS, it's all about who's close, who's using a bit of the battery, and who is getting a bit more of a powerful tow as well, depending on how close you are. And you can see getting even closer, getting a good exit still is Yus Noordijk, and we are also going to see a battle up ahead, as it's going to be close into the braking zone once again. Trying to go the long way around is Linton, not being able to find a way through on Halliday. So they're all just trying to make the moves where they can. Don't want to risk contact though at all in this one, as Patrick Sheepos on those hard compound tyres sets the fastest lap of the race, and those two Ferraris will start DRSing each other lap after lap, trying to make sure that they've got the biggest gap when these guys come in to the pit lane, and then they'll be trying to defend.
Absolutely, it's going to be one of those tough scenarios that no matter which way you kind of roll the dice here with going into the pits, you could find yourself on the losing end, regardless of which side it goes on, depending on who pits, who joins you, who decides to not follow you, and who decides to kind of go to the beat of their own drum and decide to stay out for 25 laps and then go for a set of soft tyres. Hopefully no one. That would be a very poor strategy, in my opinion anyway. But then again, I've been proven wrong many times before. quite often I base it off my own experience of what I'm able to do, but I know these drivers are far better, so they could very much take a set of soft tyres comfortably 10, 11 car laps at a very strong pace. But we are seeing a couple of cars going to the pits. Tycho Hardy, Jos Nordijk are both going into the pits there. They should be looking to try and come out around the Ferraris, hopefully not too far behind for their sake, so they can still get a bit of DRS, so they can still hold onto a comfortable time gain overall on the Delta scoreboard in comparison to a couple of these other guys slightly further up towards the front who are going to be looking to try and just stay within the DRS of someone for as long as possible to drag these tyres through the horrible grading phase we'll be going to before jumping onto a fresh set of medium tyres, as we do see the new mediums come out. Yost, P17, 3.5 seconds back from Dylan Moran and Patrick Sipos. Those Ferrari guys slipstreaming one another, using the DRS. They might have just been able to score themselves a great point haul with that.
Every single chance they can get is going to be crucial. And trying once again to get to the inside is Reese Linton. Got an incredible drive off the corner, wasn't able to do much with it. Halliday able to get a 2/10 gap on the exit as we make our way once again down towards the braking zone. Bain are looking for it in the background, and we're going to see now a pit stop coming in for Pepinta, and there's going to be a few others following him. So Klaffenbach now takes over the lead of the race as Halliday also dives it in to the pit lane. So it's going to be interesting to see where all of those will come out, and then they will definitely be trying to attack and charge themselves towards both Ferraris.
Yeah, and we know now Reese Linton, Ike Bainer, Piotr Stachelek, Simeon Lekomsky, they're all going to have to push to an extreme level as we do see Ike Bainer going into the wall, and that'll be a safety car. Okay. Potential game change here for those who have already pit. Lenny Pepinta, Jos Nordijk, Jan Halliday, Patrick Sipos, Dylan Warren. This could have just turned everything on their heads.
Well, we did say that PSGL races are wide open, and it could be anyone's race when we get to the end of it. And now, due to that safety car, race-changing moment. Pit stops just came. We've just seen Klaffenbach and Linton both getting a bit excited now, as they're going to have a huge opportunity. They're going to dive it into the pit lane, and of course they will serve it under. They will serve their pit stop under the safety car, and it will be unfortunate for those that just decided to come in. So absolutely a race-changing moment in this race.
Absolutely. You got to think as well, not only has Iker lost an opportunity here to potentially grab a great point scoring haul for Williams, but Will Lewis, again, P6, last the first challenge, might not be too far out the window here. There is a potential for it. As we do have I am Edon Giovanni in the Twitch chat saying, can we see the crash? Unfortunately not, but I can tell you exactly what happened. I think he carried a bit too much speed, lost the rear, and ended up banging it into a wall. And I believe his tyres probably would have popped off too. But we are going to see the drivers come back out here. Nels Navas staying out on a set of hard tyres. I'm sure a couple people, to say the very least, whether they're racing or not, aren't going to be happy here. Let's say that much. 21 lap old hard tyres. He's going to be a massive cork in the bottle for the likes of Dylan Moran, Simeon Lekomsky, Patrick Sipos. It could very much be a blessing for Piotr Stachelek, Julian Klaffenbach and Reese Linton if he's able to hold up the grid enough to try and get himself an opportunity. Where the DRS is broken between those top three. Nels Navas, I wouldn't like to be in his shoes right now, let's just say that much.
Absolutely, but disappointment for Reese Linton, of course, picking up that drive-through penalty right before he came into pit lane, which means he will need to dive it in to the pit lane. We'll lose the lead, and that will go to Julian Klaffenbach. So that will be when we do go to green flag racing condition, and he'll be hoping for some wild changes to this one, like we had that safety car coming out as well.
Oh, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because Julian, all he's got to do now is keep his nose clean and avoid Dylan Warren. Easier said than done, to be quite honest, because Dylan is a little bit of a fiend, isn't it, when it comes to these opportunities. He loves to make the most of them. As I do believe we've seen Nelson Alvarez dive it into the pits there, deciding not to shape up a massive corkscrew in the bottle and upset everyone behind him. Decides to go into the pits, and of course he'll have a lap fresher tyres than the rest of the field. Will he be able to do too much of that, considering he's going to be coming out towards the back of this field, with Jos Nordijk as well diving into the pits. He's done a mandatory lap on the hard tyres, so he's free to go back over to a set of mediums for the remainder of this race. So, Reese Linton, Piotr Stachelek, Simeon Okomsky. All penalties could very much turn out to be a fight between Julian Klaffenbach and Dylan Warren from a race win, even if it isn't a net P1 on track.
Yep, absolutely. So we're going to be getting some extraordinary fighting at the end of this one, we hope, but penalties could really be costing some of the drivers in this race due to track limits picked up earlier on, and we'll continue to see some picked up throughout the contest as well. I'm sure when the drivers are pushing right at the limit, especially when we are in the final stages, definitely the pressure is high. They'll be trying to maximize absolutely everything, as well as we're hopefully coming up to the restart soon as well.
Oh, speak of the devil, Omi, you've just summoned a safety car restart. Gonna have to get you to use that voice line a bit more often, mate. As Avatar saying maybe they'll pit for softs. You could only hope, but Nelson went for a set of mediums. He's not looking to spice things up. He's just looking to do the best he possibly can, sitting down there in P18. But the focus will be on Julian Klaffenbach, Reese Linton, Piotr Stachelek and Dylan Warren in this top 4 to see who's going to be able to get something cooking under this restart. You can see them all weaving, trying to get as much temperature into their tyres as possible. But it is all down to Reese Linton for when he wants to go. As you see, heading through the World Champions, holding the field up a little bit here, still weaving. Julian just wants to get underway. He's basically pressuring him under this restart. But here we go. Lenny Pipinter as well, getting 10-second time penalty for a collision there with Patrick Seapos. Unfortunate there. But given how the safety car restart has already gone, Lenny Pipinter's looking to try and get a move round. Was it? Did he just get the move around the outside of turn 2 there? No way. Lenny, ridiculous stuff. Showing the good grace of that medium compact tyre in comparison to the hards of both the Ferrari cars. They're going to be lacking a little bit of pace coming out of the gates, but overall, you got to think, as long as they're able to stay within the DRS, the run, the strategy completely different to the rest of the field. It's worth a gamble. This safety car might have just come back at a terrible time for him. But Julian Klaffenbach still holding on to that P2, not letting Dylan Warren affect him. Reese Linton there moves over to the right-hand side, inviting for a little bit of an attack. Julian says, thank you very much. I'll go around your outside. I'll take that position. Catch you in a bit. I was just a bit concerned why it still says safety car. But again, it is just one of those features.
Yeah. Those features where we also saw that in PCFG yesterday. You can watch that after this race as well, as we do see Linton diving it into the pit lane to serve that drive through penalty. But now we've got DRS enabled, margins close, not between first and second from the standards that we've seen so far, but I'm sure they'll start to close that one in. And Dylan Warren on those hard compact tyres seems like he could be the man he could be the main man who is going to try and attack on Julian Klaffenbach. But both Ferraris on those hards as well, so he is also coming under real pressure from Lenny Pipinter. So quite a few penalties could play critical when we get to the end of this race as well.
Absolutely. We do have Williams Esports over on the Twitch chat saying, can we get a bit of love for Will Lewis? Last to P11 at the moment in time. He's currently sitting P9, and for me, I reckon he could go a little bit further, to be quite honest. Jan Halliday.
He could.
We saw him have a couple of opportunities, not necessarily being able to get moves sorted, as we do see Samuel going for an absolute outrageous lunge. Unfortunately for him, it's not been able to pay off, but Will Lewis certainly want to keep an eye out for to move slightly further up the field. Wouldn't surprise me if we could see him grab a couple of extra positions here, especially considering the fighting going on up towards the front of the field. Both of Ferraris now having to work in tandem with one another. Don't be confused, we're currently watching a race clutch for two Ferrari cars behind each other, both of a hard compound tyre, both needing the DRS of one another in order to hold on to that position, otherwise they'll be sitting ducks to the rest of the field. Reese Linton as well, serving his penalty and picking up a 3-second time penalty. I shouldn't have mentioned he served his penalty because he's just got another one. I apologise for that one there, Reese, that's on me.
Absolutely, Lukomsky also picking up a 3-second of screen, and Sammy Chemsey also getting close, possibly further back as he tries to still find a way. They will be looking to get on the charge. He knows there's a lot of penalties ahead. He knows that he's also got similar ties to Julian Klaffenbach, so he'll be wanting to try and go on the attack as well. And if he can try and create the field, that could play critical for him as Labella gets past Liam Parnell and Sammy Chemsey. 3-second time penalty. He tries now to make the move as well.
Yeah, I'll be honest, Sammy tried a little bit of an audacious send on the Ferrari driver down to the inside, ended up cutting the curb a little bit too much on the inside, picking up a 3-second time penalty. But Sammy knows exactly how he's going to have to run this race in order to try and maximise his result, as we do see Julian Clappenbach there, perhaps lagging back a little bit, falling back, losing both positions to the McLarens. But at the end of the day, they're not necessarily his race, unless Simeon Lekomsky wants to do the unthinkable and back him off by about 6 seconds to make that penalty come back. I'm not saying it's impossible, I'm just saying it's very unlikely, but McLaren do need the points. It would be a smart strategic move as part of a team. I'm just putting that out there. Don't come from my head. I'm not telling him to back up the field. But it could be quite an entertaining fight.
It could be absolutely wild for us. Take place with everyone backing off.
No, I'm going to stop suggesting that. That could end up horribly if everyone ends up starting backing off and end up playing, penalty chicken with one another. That would be an absolute mess. But Jan Halliday certainly playing no sort of chicken. He's looking to keep himself moving forward. And he's certainly looking to try and build a little bit more pressure on Sammy. He's hoping for Sammy to move out of the way as soon as possible, so the Aston Martin driver can have a little bit of a run at the Ferraris up in front on the hard compound side, because they're going to need to make a move sooner rather than later. We saw that crossover period was around the 12-13 lap mark. Of course, these tyres are going to get towards that at the end of a race, but you've got to think, as long as those hard tyres are still in a working window, which, to be quite honest, that working window is, well, let's face it, way too big to feasibly try and, count. It could be certainly a bit of a missed opportunity, maybe, for Jan if he's not able to get this move and apply a bit of pressure on both the Ferrari cars.
Yep, absolutely. With the Ferrari drivers wonderful right now, you definitely do want to be putting the pressure on to Jan Halliday. Definitely, that will be one of his goals as well, with laps running out in this race. So they do have to definitely be careful with that one. As Clappenbach currently running in P3. The McLarens ahead. Not their fight, though, at this stage as well. But Clappenbach still remaining close. The McLarens are going to switch position. Julian Clappenbach, though, is also going to take second place away. So he's going to get past Stachele, and Lekumsky will now be ahead as well. So some interesting fights now to come out further back, with surely Halliday trying to find a way through. But right now, Sipos nearly losing the 1 second to Warren. So that will be also putting more pressure on Sipos if that is to happen through the detection point.
Exactly, that's going to be the worst case scenario for Ferrari, because then both their cars are split. You're very much just hoping Dylan's going to be able to hold on to the back of the likes of Lenny Papinta and Piotr Stachele in order to get the DRS, in order to bolster his pace down the straights. Otherwise, he might just be a bit of a sitting duck, which could be what we might see happening to Sipos if he's not able to keep his head and close back up to the rear of Dylan Warren. With that being said, Lenny Papinta's starting to put the hammer down a little bit and build a little bit of a gap to Dylan. Dylan, I'm sure he's waiting for that next DRS straight to come along so he can try and pull back as much time as possible. But Lenny certainly not looking to try and care too much for DRS, because he's looking to try and send that car as fast as possible into the corner and try and straighten it out as soon as possible to get the best run out of the corner to size up for moves, as we are seeing more swaps for positions here. Lenny getting the move sorted with P3, and Julian back up into the race lead here. Going to be playing a little bit of crisscross, I reckon, for the next couple laps, until one of these cars decides, okay, maybe I'm just going to sit back and wait for the last lap of a race. We've seen it happen time and time again. Could potentially be maybe a bit of a chef's kiss moment.
Could be indeed, as they continue to make their way through and go on the attack. Jan Halliday thinking about it to the inside, electing not to go for it right now. So you can currently see the penalties on screen. Lenny Papinta, of course, with that 10-second for that collision under the safety car as well. As we see, Dylan Warren was Stachele up ahead, so some great fighting going on in this one, and drivers on different strategies, trying to attack, trying to defend, and also trying to get involved with Sammy Chemsey, who's also going to get past. Sammy Chemsey is going to get past the two of them there into the braking zone, and it's going to be a battle on the exit. Jan Halliday nearly losing that 1 second. He's under pressure from Sipos as well as we roar onto the straight, and there's going to still be an opportunity for Stachele trying to still put the pressure on Dylan Warren, and they're darting all over the road. Warren's going to get past Sammy Chemsey, who's going to be overtaken once again then, as we make our way out to the final corner down towards turn one. Change for the lead as Lekumsky now over P1 in this one. Klaffenbach down to second. So an interesting lap that was.
Yes, it's certainly very interesting indeed, but given all of that happening, Dylan Warren's lost touch of DRS. He's going to feel like a bit of a sitting duck, so we can expect that position to be jumping left, right and centre, but he has kept his nose clean of penalties. But as far as things go, could very much be looking at a Julian Klaffenbach, Dylan Warren and Jan Halliday podium, given the penalties being dished out at the minute, which could potentially mean Will Lewis could be on for a podium drive if he's able to get past Jan Halliday, which would be remarkable going from P20 up into a net P3 with the penalties applied, depending on how strict the stewards are going to be, depending on what's happened where and whether there's any penalties removed. But with that being said, certainly one thing you can't take away is Haver being able to keep their nose clean for a very chaotic start, middle, and potentially end of a race. As again, we are seeing another swap for the lead there, but it's not the only swap we're going to be seeing, as Jan Halliday is looking to try and get himself a little bit of a barrier to the cars around him, getting that move sorted. Tried to get that move sorted on Pewter, but it wasn't quite there, and Will Lewis is still just in that DRS range, still looking just to reel him in slowly, but he's only got 3 full racing laps to do it in now. Will he have enough time, do you think?
It definitely could be a possibility, but we did mention keep an eye on Will Lewis in qualifying as well with that qualifying ban, and we mentioned to keep an eye for him in the race, and he definitely is delivering to that, making his way through the field. He'll try his best to get past Jan Halliday, and that will be a critical move for him. Dylan Warren getting past Sammy Chemsey. That is the battle for P4. Still cars all over the road, and Sammy Chemsey finds himself dropping down then a couple of positions, letting everyone go by him. As we now go side by side, Hadley versus as we watch Halliday go wheel to wheel with Starchile. Are they going to be able to make their way through the corner? Just about. And it's going to be Jan Halliday who has got 5th position for the moment. Starchile will try and fight back on this straight as well, but we are seeing some gaps start to form, and we are going to battle it out to the chicane, to the inside goes Starchile, and he's going to be able to take the position. And also Jan Halliday not getting the best of exits. Will Lewis able to get through, moving up to P6. That will be critical in this race with the penalties applied up ahead, and it's Lukumski also able to take the lead that time around.
Absolute brilliant stuff there from Will to find the opportunity. Piotr Stachlik is doing everything he can to try and hold up the rest of the field. I think he's realised now Simeon Lukumski could still be on for a podium as long as he backs up the rest of the field, and he's certainly looking to do that at every available opportunity. As Jos Nordyke there picks up 3 seconds worth of penalties, and more battles are happening behind. Cars going 2-3 wide through the middle sector here before coming back onto the DRS straight. Declan Barrett getting a jump on Max Grosspuyter there. But all of it is seemingly coming down to Pewter deciding to try and hold up the field for the McLarens, trying to get as many points as possible. It is very fair to do here, but at the end of the day, he's doing exactly what he needs to do to give his team the best possible opportunity. Will Lewis here looking to try and go around the outside, but of course, Pewter's just going to open the door a little bit more to give Jan Halliday, and of course, Patrick Seapotter, Ferrari driver, on 17-lap Old Hard, a great opportunity here to try and come back across and have a little bit more of a scrap. His tyres aren't just finished right now, but Pewter losing out position there to Will Lewis. This is Will Lewis's moment now. He's got to really try and pull away, but Pewter Stachlik, he's having none of it. He's all over the road, trying to defend every ounce of this track possible, trying to hold up the rest of the field, but a huge dive to the inside there from Jan Halliday. He's got to swing it back round to the outside here, but the McLaren driver is doing exactly what he needs to do, defending every single position like his life depends on it, to try and give Lukomsky the best opportunity here to try and grab a couple extra points here and there. Still going side by side for Jan's had to bail out of that one, as I do believe is that Tycho Hardy absolutely sending it in the background?
Seems like it was. Absolutely wild scenes once again. Starchile doing it for the team, defending wherever he can. Trying to go for the late lunge was Declan Barrett as well, as they're all over the road, and we're very nearly going 3 wide once again, and it's going to be Patrick Sheepos who is getting past. He is going through, and it's super tight as we go down to the braking zone. That could be close to contact. Will all of them be able to fight a way through? Starchile trying to defend left and right, and he's right now in a 3 wide sandwich as we make our way down the straight. Cars once again all over the road. Starchile ghosted momentarily. Phenomenal battling, and now also we are going to see the move possibly past Viega trying to get through, as Barrett gets ahead of Jan Halliday, and it's Declan Barrett moving up to P8. He's got past Halliday as we make our way over the line once again. This race is absolutely flying. We're on to the final lap, and there's still some amazing battling behind.
It is, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Jan Halliday and Max Grossboy are going side by side through the first couple of corners. Who's going to be able to come out on top heading into turn 3? Just about Max hanging it around the outside there. Very brave stuff to be able to have a confidence to turn in and understand Jan wasn't going to try and keep his nose in there. That could have ended in a horrible accident, but the cars are still battling tooth and nail for every position. They don't care about the penalties. They're more than happy to run this race until the end of time. But certainly one driver who might be a little bit ticked off with his penalty will be Papinta, currently in the race lead. But given he's got the penalty, he's going to fall so far down the order. But Julian Klappenbach won't mind it one bit whatsoever. Back within the DRS here. He's going to be looking to cruise home. P2 on track, but pick up the race winners. More battles happening throughout this entire field, Omi.
Going the long way around, Klappenbach able to take the position. Papinta picking up another 3-second time penalty, and it's going to be close over the line, but it won't matter, because on the road it's going to be Julian Klappenbach who crosses the line to take victory. Dylan Warren will be in second place for Ferrari, making the strategy not optimal at the time work. It's going to be Lukumski completing the podium in third, then it'll be Lewis and Hardy, and that's all we could catch as they were all battling all the way to the line, so much side by side. And it's been a phenomenal race from start to finish, and it was always going to be close over the line, but penalties playing a massive factor in that one.
Absolutely. Will Lewis drive for the day? P20 to P4. I don't feel like you could say anything else about that. Dylan Warren, P2. Fantastic stuff. Overall, you can't help but say Canada always delivers. An E-Series, once again, showing us why the best racing here is, of course, team racing. Fantastic stuff. Brilliant stuff to see. Huge fan of sort of dynamics which played out in that race. Fantastic stuff. Of course, McLaren doing their best to try and grab as many points as possible, and it certainly worked to their fruition. Omi, would you care to run us through the order here for one last time?
Well, absolutely a phenomenal race, but it was Klappenbach who ended it top as well. Warren in second place, and you'll be happy with that one to say what strategy was on. That is Lukumski, Will Lewis in fourth, then Tycho Hardy, Declan Barrett, Patrick Sheepos, and then Jan Halliday, Lenny Papinta, Angelo completing the top 10. But don't worry, we still have points to be won. Further back, Liam Parnell in 11th, Max in 12th, and then Marcel, Just Noah Dyke, Nelson Alves, Reese Linton, Valentino Labella, and then Stachele, Sammy Chemsey dropping down at the end, and Ika Barina completely transforming that race and completely changing it up and gave us the result that we got in the end.
And as far as things go, what more could you ask for a race? That was ridiculous. That was huge.
Lovely.
Fantastic stuff. Absolute pleasure to see. A pleasure to watch, let's say. Overall, I don't feel like you could have asked for more. Of course, less penalties here and there, but overall, that helped add to the drama of the race and sort of narrative building and how the teams were able to work together with one another to try and maximise points throughout that entire race. It was overall very fantastic, very entertaining race. But we do have to take a little moment here to thank those of you who have watched, have enjoyed, and of course our sponsors for being able to run this event and be able to give out such a generous prize pool of the finale as well. And of course, that'll be GT Omega and SRC. Well, hopefully you've all had time to recover. Have a quick breather mentally about what's just happened, because that was ridiculous, Omi. Again, another banging race here in E-Series, but with many more to come. What could we even possibly hope for next time out around Spielberg?
Well, it's Austria. Canada was wild. Austria, short circuit. You have 3 DRS zones. It is going to go absolutely crazy at Austria. So, yes, will be exciting to see what is going to take place in that race. But, yes, today, E-Series at its finest. Hopefully, we'll get the same next week and throughout the rest of the season as well.
Absolutely. It was absolutely fantastic. Again, it's one of those things where you don't realise how it's all going to unfold until those last couple moments where you can really start to visualise it and piece it all together. You can have a rough idea of what could potentially happen, but then again, you quite often find that here at PSGL and here in E-Series, especially, it could very much go almost the complete opposite way to what you would initially expect. Again, you would have thought Ferrari working up together so close up at the front. The safety car from Albania completely ruined any form of strategy they were able to cook up. But again, on the same note, you've got to say, with what happened, Dylan Moran still coming home in P2, mightily tremendous drive from the young man.
Yes, absolutely amazing from Dylan Warren on those old hard carpet of tires. You would have expected him to get swallowed up, but he kept his position, took advantage of some of the penalties as well. So yeah, and a brilliant drive and damage limitation definitely for them. So phenomenal stuff from Dylan Warren for Ferrari as well. Great to see these performances play out. But yeah, the safety car completely transforming that race.
Huge. And then again, we've got to also add on to the fact Julian Klavenbach kept his calm. Despite losing positions at the start of the race, he kept his calm, he kept his nerve, he understood. He had a couple of wobbles, but overall, after he sort of recouped himself, got back into the zone, he looked absolutely unstoppable, leading away from his race, understanding his fight wasn't with the McLarens around him, his fight was with the cars further back, happy to swap the DRS with them, not looking to put up too much of a fight, not drastically trying to send moves left, right and centre. A very, very delicate race, which led him to the victory at the end of the day. Fantastic stuff overall. Could we perhaps see something a little bit more when it comes to Canada? Of course, last season we saw the RHG drivers work together phenomenally. Thomas Ronhar leading the way to be able to get a 1-2 for both RHG drivers. Could we perhaps see something very similar next week? I mean, what do you reckon? What would you hedge your bets on there?
I'm going to go with maybe, because it's the
Maybe.
E-Series. It's wide open. Who knows? We could be going into the qualifying and the race, and it's completely different. So who knows?
Exactly. And it's one of those things where it'll always change, and that's part of the beauty of it. We could see both RHG drivers out in Q1. We don't know until the end of it, do we? But overall, that's all from me. Omi, do you have anything you would like to say?
Well, first of all,
yeah. Other than get well
well,
soon, Nathan. But okay, we don't
yes.
mind that.
Yes, get well soon, Nathan. Well, it's been brilliant to be here. Make sure you go watch the PCF2 race from yesterday, of course. Still available on YouTube and Twitch as well. And PSGL and our lovely sponsors, S at SRC, are also supporting the 24-hour of mental health, which Richie is organizing. So make sure you join us throughout that. And if you can donate, then please do. And we'll get some very interesting things for you. There will be some SRC giveaways as well in the Discord. So lots going on. Lots can be won on the circuit and also off the circuit as well. So make sure you join us in the 24-hour mental health event as well.
Brilliant stuff. Overall, cracking round of E-Series. We look forward to seeing you back next week. But don't forget, here at PSGL, we also have, yes, for 24 hours of mental health, we're supported tomorrow. But on top of that, we've also got the PS side on Monday. We've got the return of PCF1. It's back, it's still running, and it's looking finer than ever on the Wednesdays. And of course, we've got our traditional PC leagues next Thursday as well. It's looking like a fantastic week of more sim racing action. Hopefully everyone's able to hold on just a little bit until tomorrow, because it'll be a fun 24 hours for everyone involved, and even those watching. Give you a hint, last time we made Nathan Richards sing Let It Go from Frozen. Perhaps that could be on the cards again. You never know. But until next time, we'll catch you around. So goodbye for now.